What's up, Gearholics out there? It's me, Gearholic, here with another review. We got another Cold Steel coming up today. Today it's going to be the Cold Steel Trailhawk. Oh, dude, the Cold Steel Trailhawk is one of those axes, or one of those tomahawks that I feel like everybody should really, if you really enjoy like axes and you really enjoy like processing wood or chopping wood, I feel like this is the axe that does it all. I've seen a lot of reviews out there on this tomahawk, and or this hawk, and I feel like I'm just going to add to the repertoire of this entire thing, and just really kind of give you my overall view. I will give you guys some specs on the actual hawk itself, and then I'll kind of get into the aspects of what I like, what I don't like, my modifications actually on this blade, since I did do modifications, if you guys can't already tell, and you know, just my thoughts, general thoughts. So anyways, the overall length on the actual blade is supposed to be 22 inches, 22 inches long. The actual hawk length is 6.5 inches, with the edge actually being 2.25 inches. The actual head of the actual tomahawk is 1055 carbon steel that was drop forged, meaning that they basically just forged it, and with a big hammer. The actual weight of the actual weight, I don't know if the weight is now, but the weight that they say online is it's 23.6 ounces, roughly. I think mine probably weighs a little less than that. I would say it probably weighs more like 20 ounces, or so. Maybe a little bit less, but and then it has a American hickory handle on it, and then obviously it's made by Cold Steel, and this is part of they have like a tomahawk line where they have other tomahawks that you can get that have different heads, and different shapes and blade shapes. I feel as if this specific shape, or this specific tomahawk spoke to me a lot better than of the other versions that were offered, and it had more function for me. I'm a man who likes a lot of function. If something doesn't function, or doesn't serve at least two purposes, I usually don't like it, or not that I don't like it. I usually like buying things that have more than one function, and this particular tomahawk serves really great function. It is a very well balanced tomahawk, and you can throw this tomahawk. I've only thrown it a couple of times, and honestly, I don't feel like you should throw something that you're going to be using if it's your primary, or not your primary, but one of your primary survival tools if you're out in the wilderness. There's really not going to be a situation where you're going to need to throw this tomahawk, and I mean, it is a fun toy. Like it would be a fun toy to have, or plaything to have, to throw, and it's relatively inexpensive to buy, to have and to play with. I think I paid around the $25 mark for my actual tomahawk, and I think I bought that online from Amazon. So you guys can go check it out, or check out the websites and see if you guys can find them for cheaper. These are everywhere, so they shouldn't be that hard to find. And Cold Steel is really reliable on most of their equipment and things that they sell. So you shouldn't worry about there ever being any kind of problems with your actual tomahawk. There were a few modifications I had to make on this when I got it, because there were just little things that bothered me, and I ended up having to change them. And it's been kind of a long road coming to this. I've had this hawk for 3 years now, and this is kind of like my 3-year overview of the entire knife, and what it's been like to have it, or to own it for at least 3 years now. So I'll kind of get into all that. I do have access to some tools, so I did do some of the modifications. I did all the modifications myself, and using other tools and things. So if you like my modifications, hopefully you can find a way to do them yourself, or figure them out. They're very simple modifications. So, and I'm a simple person. I don't like. I've seen some of the guys that modify their tomahawks, and they're just really tacked out, or they look really cool. I'm into more traditional roll function knives and axes, so I like them to just kind of be tools. They should look like tools. I'm going to be less inclined to use something that's more tacked out or tactical looking, just because I feel like it doesn't function just as well as it would if it were just normal, like normally shaped. Not saying that wouldn't function. It's just more my preference. Um, with that being said, I'll kind of get into the axe itself. So this is the axe head. It's when I first got the axe, it had a nice baked on covering. It was like almost like a I'm not really sure, just some sort of coating on the actual blade itself, or on the actual head itself. It was really cheesy, and it just was really kind of funky. And so I went ahead and I ground it off. I used sandpaper and just really stripped it off the entire blade. I did make my own. I didn't come with any kind of protection for the actual blade itself, and so I went ahead and I made a very simple sheath. And basically, the sheath, you untwist it like this and unwrap it, and then this little closure just kind of simply comes up and falls off. And I can stick that in my pocket or whatever while I'm actually using the blade. Um, so that was just kind of my simple little solution to that issue. You can buy actual sheaths online that are made out of Kydex, I think. I mean, Kydex. Well, you can buy Kydex sheath for it, and I think the ones they sell on Cold Steel's website, they're made out of Cordura, and I just feel like that's really cheesy, stupid. Cordura's not as durable as Kydex or any other function. I did regrind, so I removed the paint, and it wasn't as sharp as I wanted it to be. So I reground or reprofiled the actual blade itself. I'll try to get that in there. I reprofiled the blade itself to be a little bit more steeper and have more of a better grind on it, so I could sharpen it easier. I essentially took off quite a bit of material using a sander, using a grinder. I kind of ground that away. I tried to do it real slow and not ruin the heat treats or anything that were on this blade. So that would be something I recommend that you guys do. Just take your time and you'll get there. Don't rush the job. And so after I removed the paint and I reground it, I realized that I liked the handle and everything, but I felt like it was really long. 22 inches is really, really long. So I shortened mine to 19 or 18 inches. And that took a lot of weight off of it. Taking 3 or 4 inches off the actual end of the tomahawk, it shortens your swing, but at the same time it saves you a little bit of weight, especially when every ounce counts and you're on a backpacking trip. So I think I probably saved a couple of ounces right there just cutting off that little bit, and this is plenty long enough that I don't feel like it hinders my swinging capability at all when I'm actually doing chopping tasks with the actual tomahawk. Another great thing about this tomahawk, it does have a hammer surface on the back, so you can use it to hammer, crush nuts or hammer in tent stakes. So that's really kind of nice. It did come with it did have a screw hole, or a screw that you screw in, and it keeps the whole head in place. And since this is a friction fit axe head, I felt like that was really unnecessary. So I literally took it out and I just chunked it. I didn't use it. And really, I actually broke the handle on the first one, and so I had to buy a supplementary handle. And I bought this one online, and then I cut off the end. And I bought this from the actual website that sells heads for Cold Steel. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's room there. There's room right in there. You can see my little finger waving in the background. It's kind of one of those things where I've kind of struggled with this entire tomahawk line, and I don't understand why they can't just get a decent fix on their product. That is one that, it's a good knife and it's very it's a good axe and it's very reliable. I just don't understand why Cold Steel can't solve their issues with fixing the actual handle materials. That's one thing I've just found that a lot of people have had problems with. Is they had to fix the head of the actual, how the fit and finish of the actual tomahawk fits onto the actual handle. That's like not a big, it shouldn't be a big deal, but for some reason, a lot of people struggle with that, and that's a quality thing that has nothing to do with anybody else other than the quality and where the handles are being made from. So that might be something that a lot of people need to figure out. Or Cold Steel should figure out. And I feel like this would benefit better from a less the coating that was on the actual blade. It should have been less. It was just this really cheesy, glossy, ugly coating. And I feel like if you covered this in a decent coating, people wouldn't feel so bad about removing it, or just leaving it blank and selling it just blank, and let people modify it, leaving it as a modification style, tomahawk. It's just like minor improvements over this blade would have made it a lot better. Obviously, it's a workhorse. This thing really does work a lot, and I've used this particular axe or hawk a lot. It's the only tomahawk I really own, and it's the only one that I've ever owned, and I probably really won't get another tomahawk. This will probably be the only one I ever really own, because I'm more of an axe person. I like axes that have real decent wedges. But it was nice because it was kind of a different pace for me. It does have a nice wedge right here, and you can actually see that it's really weird. My actual blade itself is actually kind of bent. It kind of curves over, and that's a manufacturing problem. So I don't know if I just got a lemon or what. Like, I'm not really sure what happened with my whole tomahawk situation, but everything, like, nothing's really worked out right since I've had this thing. I still really love this tomahawk, and it's still really good. Still a really good tool. I just, I keep finding issues and things that I don't like about it, and it just kind of pushes it down and down and down in my book, and I end up going to something else just because I don't feel like it's reliable enough. But the actual cut of the actual blade itself, the way it bevels out, does help a lot when you're splitting some woods. But it's so thin, and it doesn't taper out aggressively enough that when you're actually splitting things, it can get stuck, and then you have to kind of pry this out and pull it out, and then retry. Or you get it stuck, and then you have to hammer the back of it as like a wedge, and then it forces open the wood so you can process wood. Those are just minor issues and things I've realized. I did kind of sand off the surface, and just kind of smooth out the entire handle. When I first got the handle, or the second handle, I did smooth it all out, and I made it look a lot better. And I covered it with like a linseed oil to kind of help smooth out that surface. And because the surface was so rough when I got it, it was like rubbing my hands on a piece of board that you'd find at Home Depot. It was just real rough and not very well taken care of. And so I had to do a lot of work I had to do a generous amount of work to get the handle where I wanted it to, and then put the actual coating on it that I wanted to keep it at least protected from the elements. So it's just like constantly putting work in. It's just like it's like a project that you're constantly working on and improving. Slow pieces at a time. And it just gets kind of annoying, but I guess it is what it is. And I kind of knew that when I got it that it probably wasn't going to be in the greatest of condition. But I haven't really found any other issues other than that. I did tap a lanyard hole here for a lanyard. I don't have a lanyard on here right now, but I would highly recommend that if you're doing a lot of swinging, with this tomahawk, because you definitely don't want it to fly off and hit somebody and hurt somebody around you. The handle came relatively straight, which is decent. My old handle was actually kind of curved, had a slight bend in it. It was kind of curved out, and I was just like, oh my god, like that's just absolutely horrible. And then I actually broke the handle. I was using it to actually hammer into or chop wood, and I just barely missed the actual wood that I was trying to chop into. And it was a really hard swing, and it came down and just literally hit. It missed, jumped, and hit like right here, and it just cracked the entire. It cracked It cracked the entire length of the actual handle, and just like like a match, it just fell right in half. And I was just like, wow, that was really bad. So I just chunked the handle, and for the longest time, I just had the head, and I did try to make a makeshift handle until I ordered this one. And I think I ordered this online for like, I don't know, $8 or something like that, plus shipping and handling, maybe less. I don't really remember. And I ordered this one because it was a lot better. And I did go from hardware store to hardware store, seeing if I could find like a handle that I could, use in temporary, and I just couldn't find one. And I feel like this one was a lot better made, or at least a lot better in quality, and a lot better cut than my old handle. It doesn't have as many parts on it that I felt weird about. And I think it was because I think when it actually split, I think it was because it was a bad cut of wood. I don't think it was from me actually. I mean, obviously when I missed it and I missed and I hit the actual ridge and it broke. Obviously that was my fault, but there were minor fractures already within the wood, and I think that the wood just literally sheared because it wasn't a good decent cut of wood that was processed. I'm sure that somebody just didn't spend the time to actually look at the wood and pick and choose what pieces of wood they really wanted to use. Um, you know, all right, whatever. Yeah, not a big deal. I ordered a new one. It wasn't that expensive. But it sucks because I'm constantly having to do something for this axe, and so I've kind of since then I've kind of put this axe away. I do pick it up and use it every now and then. It's just that there are certain pros and cons I like about the axe, and I would probably favor another axe over this axe. And that's just my opinion. Rambo doesn't really quite approve of this axe being 100% awesome. I mean, it is a good axe and it's very reliable and it is really great because you can always replace the handle if it breaks or anything. So there is like a survival capability within this blade that I would think, and if you really wanted to, you could just pop out the handle and just take the head and take that with you on a backpacking trip, and then just makeshift a handle. There are other videos out there of people actually doing that, and I think that's really kind of a cool thing to know that you can do that. But in reality, if you take something that has a very unbreakable handle, like an axe that has a very rigid plastic handle, you don't have to worry about having to ever make a handle, because the last thing you want to do is expend energy on making a handle if you're in a survival situation, because that takes away energy and it takes away time that you could be doing something else, like saving your life or building shelter. And then all of a sudden, you're stuck where you have to make a head or you have to make a handle for your axe, because you have to make a shelter, and now it's a whole list of things you have to do just to get one task that you ultimately should get done. So that's just like my thoughts on the whole idea of carrying an axe like this. There are pros and cons, obviously, but I'm gonna most likely pick up something with a better handle and a longer cutting surface. I feel as if obviously this is just a travel, like it's designed to, it's designed to do certain tasks, and mine, it has a very shallow blade. That was a 2.2 and a 2.25-inch blade length is just, it's not as much cutting surface as you'd think it would be. And I feel like they could have taken the axe and really widened it out here. They could have taken some of that material and really pushed it out here, and made this a little bit longer, and still had the same amount of weight, because there's still quite a bit of material. There's still quite a bit of material right here that they could have pushed out. And this is just from a metal aspect or a forging aspect. And it does terminate really well. It does come down to a decent grind, and that's just because I did a decent grind on it. But pros and cons. It's still a really great, dependable axe, and I know that I could rely on it in any situation that I were to put it into. And it's a great backpacking axe because it's really lightweight and it doesn't really weigh all that much. And I mean, at least as far as axe go. But I think I'm going to end up grabbing a different axe over this one. Just for personal preferences. But this still is a really great axe, and it still gets a 4. It still gets a 4 out of 5 stars. And obviously, it loses because of certain things that I've already said before. So I mean, it's not a bad choice to make, but it is a decent thing to add to your list or collection of knives if you're really into that. But those are just my thoughts on it. If you guys have any questions or comments, or if you want to berate me because you're a Cold Steel fan and I'm dissing your Cold Steel legend, that's okay. I'm willing to talk and discuss other things. Obviously I have my opinion and you guys have yours. And just in my experiences, it's been more frustrating than it has been rewarding. And so with that being said, I feel as if there are many discussions that could be had over this tomahawk, and that's all I really got to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you're not too mad and you're fuming off to comment or anything. But please look at my other videos, and hopefully you guys like what I had to say, and stay out, stay safe out there, and try not to cut yourselves. That's all I got to say for now. That's Gearholic, and I'm out. Later, guys.